understandably so at this time.
We do have an interview with the Director of Elections. Just before we go to that, though, let me ask Javier Nelson for his opening comments based on what you've been hearing and seeing throughout the day.
Yeah, very mixed as well, yeah. I think I spoke to, one councillor who's actually from Yorktown who's looking to replace Scott, and he was very, very confident about the one PNP's victory today. Similarly, the individuals at the Rise United camp, they seem quite happy and delighted, and some people were saying they too are going to win. So I think it's going to be very close today, and it's very, very early to say who actually will win the polls today.
Well, let's go to that interview now with the Director of Elections.
2,503 delegates voted. That means that 87% of the delegates have cast their ballot so far. So in effect, you have only so we should be able to get close to 90% by the end of poll, which is at 4 p.m.
How long do you anticipate this process to spend? Once polling stations are closed, how long do you anticipate after that to get a result?
All right, we close at 4. We should be able to give the General Secretary the results before 6 o'clock.
And things have been flowing.
Only so far, no major problems. Some minor issues, but not a major issue as such.
Mr. Brown, what is the exact number of delegates who are ready for the vote?
2,980.
Okay, well, we've been joined by Dayton Campbell, who has been one of the lead spokespersons all throughout this campaign for Peter Bunting's Rise United campaign. And Mr. Campbell, we've been hearing, Dr. Campbell, I beg your pardon, we've been hearing different things coming from the different camps. Confidence levels seem to have waxed and waned throughout the day. Where's yours right now?
Well, we canvassed our people, and our duty today was to get those persons in. We were able to mobilize the persons that we canvassed and supported Rise United, and we're able to deliver them into the polling station. And, I've always said that internal elections can be tricky because people know that either way they're voting for a PNP. And so, once the canvas holds, then our numbers will turn out as we had predicted before the day, because we were able to mobilize that which we canvassed. So when we said we're bringing 40 persons here, 50 persons there, we put those 40 and those 50 on the bus. As you have seen by the high turnout, that we were able to mobilize that which we canvassed.
I have to tell you though, your energy is sounding lower than I've heard you for some time, and the language you're using is starting to sound very, very equivocal.
Sounds like you're hedging your bets.
Yes.
No, because remember, at this stage of the game, the votes are already in.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing to gain from saying that, boy, you must be confident, you must be this, there's nothing to gain at this time.
You're allowed to fall at this time.
You're allowed to be truthful, perhaps.
But let me
I've always been truthful, because I've always given the caveat that once the canvas holds. Because, it's different in an external election. When you canvass in an external election, a PNP versus JLP, the persons are very definitive. Internal election, they know that they're voting for PNP either way. So like today, we had several constituencies where we had persons saying, I have to go with my MP because I don't want to have any difficulties with my MP, but you have our vote. So that's why I'm saying, if our canvas holds, then that which we had said before will be the result today. I am confident that we have won, based on the fact that we have mobilized that which we canvassed. My duty today was to get those persons that we canvassed to the location. Once they're at the location, then it was to get them in our registration area so we can track and know what is going on, and then also track the numbers at the screening area, the registration number inside of the station, because there can be many slips between the cup and the lip.
If there's somebody calling to tell you what's happening in the voting area, you can answer.
Oh no, it is not. It is not. It is not.
Can I just go back with you on your canvas? Because the number you had for your canvas as published in the newspapers, and which you told to me on the hotline, was 1840.
Right.
And that's the one you're talking about.
That's
now.
the upper limit, yes, based on the figures.
And you brought out from all of the constituencies
Those numbers held.
1,840 delegates intending to vote for you.
No, not exactly. When I say all, I mean we brought out about 1825 out of that, because you had 1 and 2 here and there that didn't show up on the day.
Right.
But what makes it easier for us, remember you have an alternate.
Yes.
So when you look at your delegates, if somebody in that is having a problem, then you bring the alternate. At 10 o'clock today, we realized that we had a difficulty and I had to send a vehicle all the way back at the same time to carrying somebody. So we were doing that granular level of management on the day
To
to
carry
know
one person.
one person, because the election could be determined by one vote. So it is important to do so.
What happens, let's say around 6:30 today,
Yes.
win or lose? How does PNP rise as one?
Well, the first thing is that the number, our first objective has been achieved already, regardless of the result, which was to energize the party. The base of the PNP has been energized. And I think everybody can agree with that. Even those persons who said it was the good time for the challenge, those persons can agree that the party has been energized. Scientifically, the polls have shown that the party has moved up from 18% to 30%. So we have achieved that goal already. We want to win today, right? We want to win because we believe that we have the team that is more responsive, that is more modern, that is more appealing to today's electorate, and that can deliver what the PNP is about in this dispensation.
Sorry, can I just step back just a little bit? I want to come back on the energized, because apart from being energized, the party has been divided. So we have to deal with that. But you said initially that some of the delegates said, I will go with my MP because I don't want any problems. Can you explain what you mean by that?
So you have a constituency where the member of parliament has declared for one PNP. The delegates within that constituency, how the politics is structured, and my honesty gets me in problem, but nonetheless, I will continue to. How the politics is structured is that your delegates will be the persons that would benefit from whatever you have in that barrel that you give. Plain and simple.
Right.
So if you have bullshit work, you have whatever, they would be at the front line for those things.
Speaking from personal experience as an MP.
No, that's not, well, if you have to protect yourself in a constituency, I'm not going to come here and pretend I can't do the hypocrisy. I just can't. That's how it works. You protect yourself, so you take care of your persons and allow them. So a constituency where you have persons like that, they are not going to openly go against the member of parliament because they would then jeopardize whatever benefit will come later. But those persons may be sufficiently convinced that there needs to be a change of leadership. So those persons say to you, okay, we will travel with the MP's bus, but we will get in. And then we have somebody there that is telling us, all right, the 15 that we expected from here, they came, they voted. So we're keeping track of that.
Okay.
But what you have then is a situation where you have a delegate who is being expected by both sides to vote for that
Precisely.
side.
And that's why.
So those are not delegates you can trust in terms of your canvas.
No, and that's why I've said, I don't know if it was which one of the interviews, either one of the ladies did, but I had said in one of the interviews that our canvas, we discounted by about 20-25% because we know that there is a lot of slippage because of those issues.
So
Emily, hold that
sorry.
thought for me for just a moment. We just have to go to break, do a little bit of business. We'll be right back here at the National Arena where we're continuing our coverage of the PNP presidential election. Do stay with us.
Jamaica, Jamaica, Jamaica. God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah. God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah.
And thank you so much for staying with us. It has been a long day here at the National Arena and it's not over yet. The counting is now in progress and we are awaiting the completion of the count and the announcement of the official results. Will Peter Phillips continue as the president of the People's National Party or will it be Peter Bunting? Well, Peter Bunting, the challenger, his Rise United campaign manager, Dr. Dayton Campbell, has been talking to us. And Emily, you wanted to pick up with something.
Right. I wanted to follow up and just to ask if those delegates about whom you're not sure and who may have gone with the MP because they want to ensure that they're not blocked from getting some of the spoils and so forth, whether you count them in your 1840 canvas or you had them in a different group.
No, they were in it. They were in the 1840, and so that's why we discount it, because that would be like icing on your cake. So we're not carrying those to say those are show voters.
Yes.
What we're carrying, so for instance, if we canvass a constituency that says has 54 votes, and out of that we have 24 that are sure for Bunting, then there's another 10 that say, boy, we will vote for Bunting, but we're going with the MP. We would only put 24 in the actual thing that we're targeting. So there's a upper limit and there's a lower limit. Because remember, 1,400 wins today, because we didn't have 2,800 votes.
No,
So
1,435 wins today because we have 2,870 people who voted. 96% we're told. So, if
97, well, I was told inside that it's 2,775 that voted.
right, I'd heard that initially, but then we heard from the General Secretary that's a 96% turnout,
Right.
which is about 2,870.
Is
So
that 1435 plus 1?
Yes,
Yes, plus 1.
yes, 1,435 would win. Yeah.
Well, as I said, I was told that it's 2,775 that voted. So
Okay, and
it's
if that is
from
so, that would be
2,840, the list is 2,840, so it can't be 2,870 that voted.
So what's your lower limit?
So pretty much half of that plus 1 is our lower limit.
Meaning the bare majority.
Right.
no. But how you got to that lower limit? Is it just by halving it plus 1, or did you genuinely pick it up on your canvas minus the covert
You're asking me
risers?
what my canvas showed me
Yes.
as my... Oh, no.
The lower limit on the canvas.
No, it was over 1,500.
Oh,
Based on what we had as sure persons that said they were coming to vote for Comrade.
Which would mean that even with a full turnout, you would have expected to win.
No, we expected to bring out all of those persons. So remember, as I said, it's a small list. It's not a difficult task to mobilize these persons. So from early this morning, I was in charge of monitoring Region 1. Dr. Fenton Ferguson in charge of monitoring Region 2.
wow.
Angela Brownberg and Audrey in charge of Region 3. Luther Buchanan, Colin Fagan in charge of Region 4. Donovan Mitchell, Dean Peart in charge of Region 5. Ian Hales in charge of Region 6. So we, as I said, we went through several phases in the campaign. They kept predicting what we are doing or saying what we should do, but we managed our campaign. We didn't allow them to. So we had a very targeted approach as to how we're getting in the person. So I know that I have 35 in my seat. How many of those are on the bus in? And that's how I could send back for somebody to come.
Right.
I know how many we're expecting from Northeast. Are they on the bus? How many from Southwest? How many from Southeast? And so it was that granular level of management to say these numbers that we're targeting.
Can we get down a little bit to that level and stay with it? Because Region 1, for example,
Right.
Eastern Westmoreland,
Region 6.
delegate rich constituency,
Westmoreland.
Western Westmoreland.
Right.
Wickham McNeil,
Yes.
not declared at all for Rise. He's with one PNP. I think he has about 129 delegates.
Correct.
Are you expecting to win Region 1 at all?
Region 6.
Region 6 rather. At
Yes,
all?
we are.
Tell me how you intend to do that with so many of the delegates having probably to support their member of parliament because of the same principle that you spoke about.
Well, the issue is this. So you have Luther Buchanan in Eastern Westmoreland who supporting us. So we have roughly about 80% of those votes. You go to Central Westmoreland now where you have MP Vaz. Now,
And he's with one.
he is.
Yes.
Right. But then we had several persons in that constituency coordinating for us. Right? And I can't reveal all of it here as you would appreciate. Right? And then in Western Westmoreland, you have 129, but then you have Jimmy McKenzie, one of the council, with 69. And he said publicly that 60 of those 69 would be voting for us. And they came this morning, came to our area, registered, and went in.
I'm going to have to interrupt you all. We're going to have to go to the break now. We're taking a little break just to say to our viewers that we're getting reports that there was quite a bit of volume coming from both camps, but that from the Rise United camp right now that there is a large volume, lots of noise coming from the supporters. We're just reporting to you what we're getting from the outside. Stay with us. We're back in a moment.
God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah. God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah. God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah. God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah. God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah. destination. Jamaica, 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 yeah. The 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 destination. Jamaica, 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 yeah.
Thank you so much for staying with us here. We continue at the National Arena our ongoing coverage of the PNP's presidential election. Now, we have been joined by Mandy Duncan Price. She is with Peter Phillips, who won PNP campaign. Just before we go to her, though, we are going to be talking to Danielle Archer, who is also with us from Power 106's Morning Agenda. And she has spent the entire day walking up and down from camp to camp to camp to camp. Daniel, give us a sense of...
Even into the rain.
Even in the rain.
Yeah, man, I have my rain boots and my raincoat. I was well equipped. When you started the morning, you came in and you saw the signs coming in. And this was signs from Rise United. So you got a sense that you were really into an election era. And then, having come in and you got the energy and the vibe from that side, you had to walk across now to the one PNP camp and you got the same kind of vibe. I think the difference, though, is the energy. Energy levels are different, the music is different, how the comrades are interacting is different, and at different times, I think in the morning, they were much louder at Rise United than they were on 1 PNP, and then by the time we got to 2 o'clock, you could sense that there was much more energy coming. I'm not too sure if that was because Peter Phillips had now arrived over by 1 PNP camp. When you speak to the delegates, what you're getting is a sense of, how do I use it, to use their words, authenticity. Coming from 1 PNP is like they're saying that he's been with us forever. And you're coming from the Rise camp, you get the sense that they're talking more about who can win. That's the energy that I'm getting from both camps.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, though, I think Earl mentioned it early on in the day, that the 1 PNP camp, we heard, had their delegates secreted away at a secret location off campus. Mandy Duncan Price, what's with that?
So, having had, I think, a great merge of teams, Comrade Leader Portia's team, Comrade Peter's team in the past, come together, what they the campaign structure agreed upon was it was important to bring in all the delegates and have them register before coming to the noise, the excitement of the and perhaps, certain kind of dynamics that you face in this kind of election. Come have breakfast, come together, reaffirm, see who's there, sign up, because it's all a part of a consistent kind of continuous counting of who's showing up.
Talk truth, though. Were you guys scared
of
that
what?
some of your delegates would jump ship over into the hype going on over at Rise United?
No. So I think it's the best learnings of two camps in the last two internal elections itself, where the Porsche team shared that for them, what really worked in bringing comrades together, reminding each other as to why they're supporting a particular candidate, in this case, Peter David Phillips, and just having a vibe, because a lot of this is around, yes, the mind, but also the heart. And it's a combination of the two things that you want to say, well, who is showing up? And at any point in time, they can jump either last night or this morning, but at which point they still show up.
But what made the decision as to who would be here at the National Arena from very early this morning when I came, while another set was at that other location. Surely there was a strategic aim where that was concerned.
You're so observant.
Can I throw in something when you say that? Because when you're coming in from the roadside, you see the Rise camp that have the signs that say, "If the truth is in your heart." So it's almost like they line the roads and they're reminding you that the truth is in your heart. Vote according to how you know.
And you see where the actual one PMP team members come from, the other side of the road.
Right, that's what I want to
I haven't
tell
even
you.
seen those signs.
So you see the signs coming from the Rise, and where the one PMP people coming from, they're not seeing the signs that are out on the road.
Yeah.
But did it work? Did it work in the end?
Well, yes, we shall see actually in another hour or so. At this point in time, those who came this morning, people who were the supporters who were, engaged and enthused about Peter David Phillips. And so persons had come. We knew they could come easily from various constituencies nearby, from Julian's constituency, Southeast St. Andrew, Central Kingston, various places, to come and have a vibe, because there was music starting early.
Now that everything done, talk to us a little bit more frankly about your canvas and what that was showing before the election, and how confident you are that that has held up.
Truth serum time.
I will say that as the daughter of a former general secretary, we don't tend to speak numbers like that. We tend to internally manage our canvases, and what I will say is that from June, the canvas has held very consistently, certainly in Central Kingston for us, very consistently. And I think in the last few days, we've seen an increase in our canvas, because persons who had previously indicated that they were supporting Rise had indicated to us that they were going to come on board because of what they were seeing as actions and so forth of the other team. And so we're grateful, and I'm hoping that what people have indicated to us holds.
Can I ask you, which are your three big regions that you thought you needed to win to take this election? Certainly Region 3 is one of them.
It is the largest region, having the largest number of delegates, yes.
But which is why I think you were probably bruised by Angela Brownberg declaring for Rise, because she has 105 delegates.
And Peter Phillips has more. And Peter Phillips has more.
Peter Phillips has more, but she would be second.
So
next to Peter.
So let's be clear on something, Emily. No one member of parliament or caretaker has anybody, but certainly has sway and persuasion, right? Now, there are diverse leaders in a constituency. There is a member of parliament and there are councillors. Within Southwest St. Andrew, where Angela Brownberg is the member of parliament, we had a very popular councillor supporting one PNP, that being Councillor Carl Blake, Porter Simpson Miller's cousin, actually. And so that was very helpful to us in terms of ensuring we had a way to break the potential block that Angela and other councillors there would have been able to persuade. And so we're comfortable with the Southwest St. Andrew contingent.
So you think you've had about, what, 80% of Region 3? Thereabouts?
I think we have a very significant majority of Region 3. And Region 4 is also important, that being St. Catherine and Clarendon. And Region 6, I was extremely heartened when I saw Region 6.
That is so funny, because Dayton Campbell
Hanover
just spoke with us about Region 6, and just like you, he believes in Western Westmoreland. Though Wickham McNeil has the largest chunk of delegates in that region, there's a councillor in there
But
who's
Region 6
bringing
has
home
3
60.
parishes.
Absolutely.
Right.
But that particular parish has 129 delegates. Dwayne Vaz, who's supporting you, has 60 odd delegates, but he thinks there's a councillor in Western Westmoreland who's promised half of Wickham McNeil's numbers, which is interesting. Yeah?
It is interesting, but I find also compelling that he hasn't mentioned St. James, because St. James has more delegates than Westmoreland.
Yeah.
And so we look at the region as a total. Westmoreland, Western Hanover, Eastern Hanover, and noting Western Hanover had no delegates except for the MP.
One of the things that Dayton Campbell also said to us is that there are some delegates who, wanted to keep the political peace, so to speak, said to them that, look, publicly we'll support our MP who is with the Phillips campaign, but under the quiet we're going to come vote for you. So how...
I think one of the things we have learned over the last few elections is that our delegates tell each respective team things that they want to hear. And
which also
so,
goes for the people you
and the
think
same
are
thing, so we heard
supporting
the
you.
same thing as well. People in Rise t-shirts today saying, remember, we're voting for you. And I look at them and say, well, comrade, do what is right in your heart, and I hope you keep to the authentic thing about you. Because you don't know. You understand? Exactly.
All right.
So my thing is that within a short period of time, we will see exactly how the cookie crumbles. But I will say, as I said to somebody earlier,
That's why none of you can
so
call
far, they've kept on the shirts, because in the past, people have actually gone in and taken off shirts. They've kept on the shirts.
Imani,
People have been consistent. Let's watch the behavior and let's see what the results are.
you're the daughter of a gensec. You pointed out the importance of numbers, and we're looking at whether or not they're going to hold strain. But there's a theory that says when it comes to looking at voter turnout, the higher the voter turnout, it does not look good for the incumbent. Is that something that we can look at here? Because the voter turnout at this time, when I was last outside, suggests that you're expecting almost 90% of the voter turnout. What does this mean for your camp with the incumbent?
I'm hoping it means the same thing it meant for Comrade Porter Simpson Miller in her election in 2007. 2008, when in fact the last presidential election had also a significant voter turnout for the internal elections themselves. And she was the party president at the point in time.
What was the percentage there?
I don't recall the number, but I know we're compared. No, in the internal election. No, in the 2008 internal elections. Not general elections.
It was not as high as 96,
but it wasn't exactly.
Not as high. But
it was very high.
But you're not reading the high voter turnout in any way adverse to Dr. Peter Phillips.
I'm reading it as a sign, I think, of the energy. And I think Jamaica has
new
noted
interest, which has been attracted by perhaps the campaign of Rise United.
New interest.
Yes.
Well, there are
delegates
less
who are
delegates.
now coming out.
Do you recall last year's elections with the vice presidential elections?
Yes.
Right. And it was 89%, I think, turnout for the vice presidential election for 5 contenders.
Yeah.
Sorry, 6 contenders were victorious, and the 4 are supporting Dr. Peter Phillips. I think it shows you that the People's National Party is in a kind of re-engaging, re-energizing mode, and I think it's a good thing. And it's whoever wins, which I'm hoping it is Comrade Leader, Dr. Peter Phillips, that we can galvanize the energy and interest that clearly has been shown by the high voter turnout to turn it into something positive, to bring the party together and look at the real opponent and drive for a different kind of Jamaica.
Do you fear, though, that you may have, after initially generating some excitement, even beyond the confines of the party, to the national picture, that some of the more negative aspects of the campaigning over the last few days might have done further damage to the image of the PNP nationally, and therefore whatever excitement you are generating on the inside, you may ultimately be hurt post the presidential election today?
I think that personally that could be a concern, because any kind of infighting that and the nature of the infighting and the things said and the various allegations and actions that have apparently been taken by various sides would not bode well for the party. But the issue is not about the impression, it's about fixing the incorrect action. you mustn't hide when something is wrong. You have to fix the thing that is wrong. And as a party, while we focus on our members and our delegates today, we're a party that seeks to actually speak to Jamaica and have moral authority to Jamaica itself.
Moral authority?
Except that everybody is now saying, wait, the two of them are accusing one another of vote buying.
And I
What
think
kind of
it's
moral
very important
authority?
that the president of the People's National Party come today and tomorrow ensures that the actual committee in charge of investigating these types of allegations does so. Because we have to be very clear and put in place particular measures and consequences for such actions. But where there is the proof that must come forward.
But you talk about investigations after an election has been won or lost. The impact
Because
has
you have to have a
already been
reputation.
done.
No. And so, for example, from my perspective, if in fact persons have come forward with actual evidence of vote buying, for example, one of the issues, they have actually. So given that person have come forward with evidence about vote buying, the party as an organization, regardless of whoever wins this race, has to complete the investigation and in fact make sure there are consequences to those persons and the public needs to know, because otherwise we will have no authority to speak about such actions going forward.
But when you talk about moral authority, one of the contentions has been one party or one leader has asserted that the other person lacks integrity. And we're talking within the realm of corruption. When the public looks at the election, regardless of who wins, they're going to question the integrity of the leader that wins. Isn't that a problem for the People's National Party?
I think that's why it's important that it's cleared up as far as possible. I don't think anybody has actually. I don't think anybody has accused Peter Phillips of actually buying votes. Have they?
But you may not have the accusations of buying votes, but you have the accusations of who is bringing in guns or who are not using guns. And so either way, you still have the assertion on both sides that
I don't think
lacks
those are new
integrity.
assertions, I must tell you, with People's National Party or the Jamaica Labour Party. And I'm not saying it is right or wrong. I'm just saying that those factors have been there in the public space, and the public has, I think, weighed on those things. I believe that going forward, that any leader of this organization has to speak to a kind of future for the organization, a future for Jamaica, and speak to the concerns of Jamaicans, which are many, many concerns. And I believe that the People's National Party, when it comes to looking at practical solutions that impact the day-to-day lives of Jamaicans in terms of the issue of crime, there's the issues of inequality, the issues of land ownership, the issues of quality of jobs. If you can speak to those things and build a base of integrity in your party, we would be actually set to actually be victorious. I'm not pretending it's an easy road at all. It's not. But I believe that you can build organizations and rebuild the foundations. Things are not static. You have good times, you have bad times, and we're going to have to recover and do actionable things and show Jamaicans that we're serious as an organization.
The problem with all of that, though, is that what you have here is members of the same party accusing each other. So presumably the ones who know you best, you're pointing the fingers and saying they're doing it. And the increasingly large percentage of the electorate that is anti the whole ONU and increasingly apathetic and cynical sees that and says, well, you come talk to me about anything else and you can't get your own house in order. You're going to stand up in Parliament now and beat on a chest about Integrity Commission and una buy vote, una give people envelope with $10,000 in it or more. So the allegations.
No, it's not an only thing, and I don't think that should not. That's why to me it's very important that once we clear tonight, that we actually clear the allegations and consequences be met or doled out to persons who in fact are guilty of such egregious acts. It is not right at all. And because it is important that the people of Jamaica understand that corruption doesn't work for anybody, it only takes advantage of those who in fact are vulnerable or just greedy, we have to do something about it. No, may I finish for a second? But the apathy you speak about is not a new thing. This apathy, the way in which, and as a younger politician, I am not happy with the level of disengagement in our country when it comes to the politics at all. I'm not. And it's across both sides, JLP and PNP. Neither of us can speak proudly that less than half of the electorate came out to vote for us last time. Nobody can. We have work to do on both sides. I agree completely, but I don't think we can sit here and just say, well, boy, it's a mess. How you can't recover. I believe in the possibilities of recovering. I believe in the possibility of taking actual action to show people that you're serious about things. And as leaders emerge and actions are taken, the Jamaican electorate will have its chance to voice its opinion. And I look forward to that.
I'm in intrigued particularly by your comment about the vote buying and the use of the envelopes because I'm trying to understand what you perceive to be vote buying. Is vote buying just giving persons money in an envelope, or is it meeting their needs by way of giving out chicken feed or zinc fence or scholarships to particular areas just because you want to secure their votes? Are they the very same thing?
So I'll give an example. One of the points of evidence is a WhatsApp exchange from the other side to a young comrade saying, what do we need to do to get you to vote for our side, the right side? And to say, well, I'm finishing university. And you say, well, how much is it going to cost you? I have 6 modules. What's the cost of each module? $30,000. Okay, we'll give it that for you to vote for us. That is vote buying, very explicitly, because people have needs. When MPs or candidates see needs and seek to fulfill needs generally, not necessarily in a campaign time. For example, I'm a caretaker. I'm a caretaker.
By instituting a small business
I did
fund.
not actually. So in that case, I'll give you 2 examples. In my campaign, because of the same level of cynicism around politicians and us not fulfilling our promises and just speaking very generally about people's needs and actual challenges, I decided that because I'd seen particular gaps and challenges for many persons in central Kingston who were trying very hard to make a living, but it just could not work, that I said, okay, I'm going to actually put forward an idea that I had had before while working in South St. Andrew around a small business development fund. And I said to them, I will be launching this fund after the election was actually completed, and on the date of end of July, elections were end of June.
Hold on and see Daniel wants to come in, but I have to go to another break. Stay with us. We continue our live coverage here from the national arena of the PNP presidential election. We'll soon be back.
God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah.
Has retained the presidency of the People's National Party. Comrades, I want to urge all of us to accept the results and let us work together as a party in unity as we go forward to advance the cause of this nation and the People's National Party. Thank you very much. Have a safe travel home, and the party will be in touch with you shortly as we move forward. Thank you. I'm just repeating what I said before. There was a 96% turnout. Comrade Peter Bunting received 1,351 votes, and Comrade Peter Phillips received 1,427 votes. So Comrade Peter Phillips has retained the presidency of the People's National Party. Thank you.
So just about an hour and 25 minutes after the close of the polls, the results are now known, and Dr. Peter Phillips has held on to the presidency of the People's National Party with 1,427 votes to Peter Bunting's 1,351. If my math is holding up, that's a difference of 76 votes.
I concur.
You concur?
I concur.
So, I mean, you're talking there about a narrow margin, but they say a win is a win. Imani Duncan Price, reaction.
I am extremely happy that the majority of the comrades that voted today voted to return Peter David Phillips to the presidency of People's National Party. I believe that any leader looking at this, at today, at the last few months, would recognize the need to bring people together, to begin a process of healing and a process of conversation, real conversations.
But I'm going to have to ask
some
you
work
on
to
that
do.
note, with a margin,
I
with
want
a
to
leader
say
who
thank
can
you.
only hold on, but with a margin of 76 votes.
Let's see.
Boy, let me tell you.
Hold on a second, Imani. Hold on a second.
By the way,
Hold on
sorry,
a second.
I want to say one thing.
Just hold on a
Remember that
second.
the other team had said our canvas is how much again?
No,
1,840.
hold
No,
on
no,
a
no, no,
second.
no.
Hold
No,
on
no,
a
no.
second.
No, let her answer that question. 76 votes is not by any means a resounding victory. As a matter of fact, what you have here is a party that seems to be split almost entirely down the middle. So what does that say about Peter Phillips' leadership and how, in fact, the delegates are viewing him?
And how are you going to launch this investigation into vote buying, etc. at this stage?
So, couple things. I think that in either case, that Peter Phillips is a leader who is best suited to bring together different stakeholders around a table to have a series of conversations to come together. I believe the People's National Party would like to ensure that they move forward to take down the Jamaica Labour Party and offer real plans to Jamaica. I believe that. Now, if you stick to the mission, focus on the mission, not just the feeling of defeat and the hurt and all the words said, then it is possible by focusing on the mission and on the goals to come back together. It will not be easy. We're all human beings. But the kind of leader that can actually open his arms. And remember, by the way, with Porter Simpson Miller and Peter David Phillips, that was a process. But entirely a process.
Here we are with 76 votes. You're talking about a leader who can bring the persons together. Dion has aptly said that it really reflects a 50-50 split. In terms of unity, does this not speak that you're going to have a challenge in unifying both sides? Given that you're looking at a margin of 76?
I believe that based on the nature of the of the campaign itself, that will always be a challenge given how the campaigns were run and the nature of the exchanges. It's very
vitriol.
The vitriol was high in some cases, even if you had a landslide, for example. And so you're going to have to do some serious work. I'm not denying that fact at all, but I am extremely grateful that the majority of delegates have voted in this way.
Well,
and it gives a base to stand from.
We're standing by
And I think
for
the General
Dr. Peter
Secretary
Phillips, who
will
I understand is going to be taking the stage shortly, but we also have with us the General Secretary of the People's National Party. We'll be bringing him in just a moment as well.
Dion, I don't know how easily our cameraman can capture this image, but it is taken from the Gleaner on the 10th of February 1969. Michael Manley having just defeated Vivian Blake, the two of them emerged together on the platform, embraced each other, and signaled unity for the People's National Party going forward. I don't know whether we're going to be seeing that moment this afternoon.
Well, can I
just
say that I think this moment for the People's National Party is a moment for some serious introspection right now. The delegates are never wrong. Just as the electorate in a national election, they're never wrong. What we have here is a president who was put in without a challenge in 2017, who has a political history on his side, whereas an incumbent in his position is normally allowed to face the electorate so that he can have a stint at becoming prime minister. But we had one man who never figured in the national polls deciding that he needs to challenge him because he's too flat. On top of this, we have the party hierarchy. 90% of the senior delegates, all of the vice presidents, the NEC, the REC, and all that the PNP has boasted over the last couple of weeks, they have been supporting the incumbent president. And if Dr. Phillips could only return with a victory as small as 76, anybody who says a win is a win is not correctly reading these delegates, because what it means is that a substantial number of these delegates have gone against their MPs. have gone against their NEC reps and have said, we want Rise United. And this picture that you have put up, Earl, if Dr. Phillips does not reach out, as Michael Manley did with Vivian Blake, to Peter Bunting this evening when he goes on stage, he's never going to rest easy as president of the People's National
But
Party.
Viv Blake was also willing to embrace.
That's a very good point.
Well.
But one of the things that we've heard all throughout this campaign has been about the youthful energy coming from the Rise United camp. People who said they weren't interested in the PNP, they had lost interest, they didn't believe in Dr. Peter Phillips as leader and were therefore flocking to Rise. Surely Dr. Peter Phillips has to find a way to engage that energy and to keep them in the fold.
I think it's exciting. You see, to me, and I'm not saying it's just because we're on television, but if you can bring the two together, and I've always told Peter Bunting this, I said, Peter, if you brought the communications energy, you brought a certain level of engagement with Peter Phillips' experience and such, we have a formidable force for Jamaica. And as you correctly say, it's about how Peter David Phillips reaches out, but also how Peter Marcotte Bunting receives.
The party is completely
so I think we have an
split.
opportunity.
It is split down the middle, Emmanuel. You know what?
You have an opportunity, and I think with a general secretary like Julian, who is a great ameliorator, let me tell you.
Okay,
right?
we'll talk with him. I'm going to have to call Cree and thank Imani Duncan
Thank you so much
for
for having me.
talking
And
to
thank you
us. She, of course, representing the Peter Phillips One PNP campaign, and as you would have heard by now, Peter Phillips has retained the presidency by a narrow margin of 76 votes.
But let me just say something, because Dr. Phillips won his domino game in studio with me, 16. By 16. And I did count 17, so you see how the 7 and the 6 come clash up there. So
Next thing you're going to tell me how long Peter Bunting was planking with you for.
Nearly 2 minutes.
and no doubt that is about the number of votes he also lost by. But the General Secretary of the People's National Party is with us at this point. Julian Robinson, thank you so much for coming in. So what's your mood now with the numbers known, the contest at an end? What's your mood today?
What happened today?
What's your mood?
Mood? Yes. Well, I mean, obviously, the results are close. Dr. Phillips has won. The margins are not huge. It means that there was close to even support for both candidates. And I think, certainly from my perspective, the main imperative now is to reconcile, to bring everybody back together so that we can unite the party.
Can I ask you, were there any spoiled ballots or anything like that?
No. That was not reported by the
What
OJ.
happens now? Do we have a recount at any point in time?
No. We went through the process. All the ballots were counted. There were indoor agents from each of the two candidates to observe the count, tallied in front with the representatives from both candidates, and everybody has accepted.
You made a point, I think there's a press release that concerned some changes that were made yesterday to the Secretariat. And it has been out in the domain that this was in favor of the structure of the one PNP camp. Do you think that would be something that you're going to hear more of now in terms of whether or not there was any fairness?
I don't think that changed anything. Everybody you had a 96% turnout. Everybody who wanted to vote came out and voted. The process was smooth. I don't think that impacted anybody at all. People came in, they voted, they went through all the processes. So I don't think anything turned on that, quite frankly.
When you focus on the 76, the very small margin that you have in terms of this victory for Peter Phillips, in terms of the march towards unity, do you think that is going to have a greater impact on a general election when they look at Peter Phillips as opposed to looking at the People's National Party?
And I think, a lot will depend on the responses of both leaders, of Comrade Phillips, who has been returned, and Comrade Bunting, who has lost, and the tone that is set by both of them, and what the signals that are sent to their own supporters. We went through significant lengths to ensure that the process was fair. We had 3 lists, we had 2 preliminary lists of finalists. People got an opportunity to invigilate it. We spent a lot of time on the logistics just to ensure everything was fair. So for me, the importance is, even though it's close, I think persons can accept we had a process which was transparent and open and fair to both parties, both teams.
As General Secretary, you do have a massive task on your hand. And I know, even though you had to remain neutral, did you assess in your head whether at the end of today, you would have preferred a blown out win by one side or a way for thin
From
win?
where I sit, for
Yeah.
me, the important thing was having a good day. Good day in the sense that everybody had an opportunity to vote. The process was smooth. We had a fair process. That for me was what is important as the person who had responsibility for that.
Let me jump on that very quickly. Has there been any indication from the Bunting camp that they're dissatisfied with any of the processes today?
We just announced. I don't know if anything will emerge in the coming hours, but we just announced literally a couple of
But
minutes ago.
nothing was raised during the day itself.
No, I mean they agreed with in terms of the list, the sign off with the list. The campaign manager said he was satisfied with that. The logistics for the day, we had numerous meetings to look at how we would work out the logistics with both teams. So I don't anticipate it because we had throughout this process there was dialogue with both teams on what we agreed and how we came to it.
But I saw a clip on Gleaner's website, and certainly my sources told me that there was an issue earlier on in the day where yourself and Dayton Campbell, campaign manager for Rise, actually had a little kerfuffle.
I mean, there was a little verbal thing there in terms of where barriers were to be placed, and
Yes.
you know, the teams had agreed on a particular placement, and that wasn't there. Again, in the scheme of how today went, I don't think it affected it. People were able to come in, they were able to cast their vote, they were able to do so in an environment that was free and fair. So I don't want to make too much of it. I don't think anything turned and would have affected today as a result of that.
Last question before we bring in our other analyst, Javion Nelson. What are the rights now open to a team Bunting? Do they have a right to challenge anything about the election today if they so desire?
Again, you know, we went through a very detailed process of preparing the list. And I've been involved with the last 3 competitive presidential elections. We have put out 2 draft lists. And then when we did the final list, there was also an opportunity for people to query. There are 2 main processes. One is signing off on the list, and we got the sign off on the list. And then the second is the logistics on the day. And I felt that we had a day today which went smoothly. Everybody, a 96% turnout means, you know, pretty much everybody who wanted to vote was able to vote. So I don't think there could be any complaints.
No, but if there could be, do they have a right to appeal anything at all?
My own experience, I've never seen or heard of it. You know, I hope, given the processes that we went through, that there wouldn't be acceptance of the results.
Now, one of indication of this whole issue of healing, the reports we're getting is that there's crying going on now in the Rise United camp. People are actually crying at the loss, which of course speaks to deep emotion and how invested people were in the results. So that's what you're now facing.
And that's why, as I said, I think, you know, the process of bringing everybody together is going to be important. Emotions were running high. There are a lot of effort, energy, resources went into this campaign over the 3 months. And obviously, you know, everybody who participated has a role to play in moving the People's National Party forward. And I think for me, the important thing is the tone of the 2 lead of Comrade Phillips, who has been returned, and Comrade Bunting, who has lost, and the signals sent to their own supporters about how we move forward as a united People's National Party.
Does the Secretariat have a plan drawn up for action on the ground starting tomorrow?
I'm going to be, you know, the Secretariat and the life of the Monitoring Committee will continue for another 30 days. I have some views which I will share with the Monitoring Committee, which I think we have to put in place immediately, now that we know the results, to ensure that we have unity.
Because let's be frank, after the Peter Portia campaign and the deep divisions in the party, we heard that the Phillips supporters were sidelined for quite a while. And for years we were hearing about Portia camp and Peter camp. We heard that you, for instance, were out of favor for a while, having supported Dr. Peter Phillips. So you
I was in the Secretariat and I couldn't take any position. I've been in the Secretariat a long time as a deputy.
Except you've always been human, though.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have a vote, but in terms of
there's
when the campaign
certainly a very strong perception in terms of where your sympathies have been
but
in
again,
both campaigns.
what I've always aimed to do from being in the Secretariat is to do my work professionally.
Yes.
Obviously, we all have preferences, and that's all right.
Yes.
And I have a vote.
Yes.
But my responsibility is to do my job professionally.
By the way, did you vote today?
Of course I did.
Right, great.
And
No,
I certainly won't be
can I
telling
just
you.
say publicly, Julian, I think you have acquitted yourself well with all of the human vices that we have. I think as a general secretary, you have managed to hold yourself as much as possible in the middle, and I can't even say from the outside what your leanings might be, and that's a credit to
And
you.
that's what I aim to do.
I can't say the same thing for your chairman who is standing over there. Yes.
Okay, well, on that note, let me ask everybody to hold on for just a moment. We are going to be continuing our live coverage here at the National Arena. We now know the results. We're getting the reactions and seeing, how people go from here. What happens to the opposition People's National Party from here? Stay tuned. We're back in a moment. And in fact, let me just remind if you've, been sleeping out this rainy Saturday, you can go on to Twitter as well and just catch up in terms of what's been going on. Let me just okay, let's go to the break now and then we'll be back.
I want to thank particularly also Comrade Lisa Hanna, who took charge of our communication. I want to thank the senators, all of them led by Senator Donna Scott Motley. I want to thank Comrade Floyd Morris, Comrade Lambert Brown, all the other senators who contributed to the work of the campaign. Comrades, this should be seen as a bump in the road. Our mission, because Jamaica can't take no more of this Jamaica Labour Party, our mission is to come together and to proceed with the task of organization, present our case, present our policies, and let us put an end to the Jamaica Labour Party government that has left us with more crime, with more corruption, with more poverty, with more difficulty in our lives because of poor social services. So, comrades, we don't come to make no long speech tonight. I have a lot of thanks to give to the YO, to the women's movement, the president of the women's movement, to those in the Patriots, to the entire People's National Party. We come in peace. We come in peace in the PNP. We come in peace to the people of Jamaica. We come united with the workers of Jamaica. We come to move forward as one united party, ready to rise up and take control of Jamaica on behalf of the people of Jamaica. God bless you all, comrades. One heart, one love, until we meet again on the trail of progress. moving up to the better quality of life which all our people seek in Jamaica and which the PNP is dedicated to providing for them. One heart, one love. Stone love! Comrades.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Our ongoing coverage of the PNP presidential election live here from the National Arena continues. And if you missed it, Dr. Peter Phillips has retained the presidency of the People's National Party, defeating his challenger Peter Bunting by 76 votes. Now, we've been joined by the chairman of the party, Fitz Jackson. Javian Nelson has also joined our panel. I am going to go to Javian first, but let me just say we're getting news here that Dayton Campbell says he'll be resigning from the shadow cabinet. Now, here's the thing though, Dayton Campbell as a shadow minister of health is one of the most vocal and most effective members of the shadow cabinet. He clearly has, as a doctor, as a medical doctor, he has his links all throughout the health service. He often delivers news to the public before the Ministry of Health. So what happens if Peter Phillips actually accepts that resignation and loses Dayton Campbell from the shadow cabinet? Let me let Javian Nelson speak and then I'll bring in Fitz Jackson.
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a huge blow for Peter Phillips in his new dispensation as the, voted in leader of the People's National Party. Because
Dayton Campbell insists on
yes,
going.
absolutely, because I know Dayton is someone who a lot of people respect, a lot of people have been really,
I'm so sorry, Javian, but I'm going to go to the stage of the one PNP camp because our reporter Dwayne Anderson is there now with Peter Phillips.
Dr. Peter Phillips, the victor in today's delegates' vote. As they say in horse racing, by the flare of a horse's nostril, you just took it. Your immediate reactions?
I'm grateful to the delegates, all the leadership of the party who have supported us. We came through, represented our case, and we have been victorious. I give God thanks.
It's a split in the party. How do you go forward?
There is no split in the party. We are going forward as one party with one leader.
How long should the public wait before you extend the figurative olive branch to Peter Bunting and his side?
We haven't created a war with him, so I don't know that there is any need for a branch. I expect that we all continue as members of the party, which is bigger than all of us.
With such a slim margin though, do you think you have a sufficient enough mandate to go forward and take down the Jamaica Labour Party in the next general elections?
Yes.
All right, we'll try to get another quick word from Damian Crawford. If he could just make his way this way. Damian Crawford, Vice President of the People's National Party. We'll get a quick word from him. Mr. Crawford, clearly loved by the People's National Party supporters. You were one of the main whips on the campaign trail for Dr. Peter Phillips. What do you make of this victory?
I'm very, very happy with the victory. The delegates came out more than we even expected. Almost 95% turnout. We extend a hand to the Kedanis, to those on the Rice team. They fought a good fight, and I congratulate them for their effort as well.
Well, on the campaign trail, Dayton repeatedly said that it would be you and him and Lisa and the others who are on this side who would go forward and take down Andrew Holness and the JLP. How soon before we see some sort of camaraderie again?
At this moment, we're extending that olive branch to Dayton Campbell and all of those who support it. They're still members of the People's National Party, and they were of a different opinion. So the fact that we had a disagreement don't mean that we're divided. And so therefore, we're grateful for their effort, because what has happened is that the PMP is now ready to go on the road and do what we have to do.
With such a slim margin though, are you worried that there is a major split in the party?
No, I'm not worried that there's a major split. Those persons who are on the right side, in particular many delegates, were of the opinion that that could make the PMP win. And therefore they will come over now that they have been an answer. So the 99% of those who supported Rise are still interested in the PMP winning an election.
And final word to the supporters, the hundreds who came out, well over 1,000 who came out and voted for you, stood in the heat and in the rain to take you guys to victory.
Yes, I'm grateful to them. I'm thanking them very, very much. They have maintained my belief in the People's National Party and the principles of the People's National Party. More persons today supported a strong stance for the maintenance of the values of the People's National Party, and we are grateful today.
Is that a parting shot at the allegations of vote buying?
There's no need for shots after the war. The war has ended. And so as I said, we are extending the olive branch. We are of the opinion that it was for the soul of the party, and therefore we are celebrating that victory. But we are grateful for the efforts of those who are on the other side, because they have shown to the public that we can campaign and campaign effectively.
Thank you so much, Damian Crawford, Vice President of the People's National Party. Before him was the victorious returning President of the People's National Party, Dr. Peter Phillips. Until I get some more reactions from supporters and indeed members of the One PNP team, it is back to our control center.
All right, thank you so much for that, Dwayne. Javian, let me let you pick up based on what you heard there from Damian Crawford and indeed Peter Phillips.
Yeah, I don't think it's surprising what Damian said in particular, because actually when the rain was tearing earlier this afternoon, I was speaking to a delegate who is from Western Portland and had voted in the election today, and he said he was voting for the soul and spirit of the party, and he went and gave me a proper political lecturing about the People's National Party and why comrades would have to vote for someone like Peter Phillips, because they have to reject capitalism and they have to support people who are socialists and ensure that the party stays as it is, and that while reform is necessary, the principles and values of the party cannot change, because he felt that the arguments put forward by Peter Bunting is going to change the party too much.
The difficulty I have, though, Fitzjackson, let me bring you in here, is this pretense, and yes, I'm going to use that word, from both Damian Crawford and Peter Phillips, that there's no need for healing. We're all one. We all move forward as one. At 76 votes, though, come on, that's going to mean division. That's going to mean people who with very strong feelings. That's going to mean a great deal of wisdom in steering the ship to ensure that there is that coming back together. You can't just pretend that everything is okay.
Well, there must be some amount of healing as a party.
But we didn't hear any acknowledgement of it.
Well, we are going to seek to bring both sides together. And any other side that is within the People's National Party.
How?
It is regrettable.
Remember, you never make it into Portia Simpson Miller cabinet,
That is behind us.
Not true.
That is behind us.
But the point is, we've seen what has happened when the healing does not take place.
No, but in
so
as
it
much...
takes more than saying, we're all one. Let's sing Kumbaya.
So the past is prologue.
Right.
No, but look here. I didn't serve in the cabinet, but I continue to serve the People's National Party in the Parliament and elsewhere in the party strongly. And I work very closely with Portia Simpson Miller then. So if you're not in one position, it doesn't mean that you cannot contribute in a meaningful way. I believe that I made meaningful contribution from outside the cabinet at the time. And going forward, I expect that from fellow comrades. I had a duty then as a member of the People's National Party. And I believe that all other members of the party have that responsibility regardless of where they happen to sit.
Can I come in here, because the signal has to come from the leader. I didn't get to hear all of Dr. Phillips' speech. What I heard is him saying we come in peace, united, moving forward, ready to rise up and take control of Jamaica. But when he was specifically asked by a reporter whether he's prepared to extend the olive branch, I expected to hear from a president of a divided party whether he accepts it or not. Absolutely. And I expected to hear Dr. Phillips say, I am going to, as soon as things settle, maybe tonight. And Peter Bunting concedes, which we expect him to, because that is part of the democracy that we need to encourage. He should have said he's going to call Peter Bunting and they begin the process of healing. The fact that Dr. Phillips said, we haven't created a war with him.
There's no need for an olive branch.
Yeah, even this him, this pronoun being used to refer to a man who nearly beat you. If he, 2.5 months, this political upstart in leadership terms, has taken on an institution inside the PNP, which is what Dr. Phillips is, taken on the party hierarchy, taken on the NEC, taken on the REC, and he's nearly taken them down. You treat him better in your speech. You treat him better in the interview, and that it hasn't come here. I think Dr. Phillips has missed a moment. He may have time to repair, but you don't have a second chance to make a first impression. And he's missed it. And if all of you chairman put your head in the sand against the signals the delegates telling you, you are in for something very soon when the snap election is called by Andrew Wood.
Oh, you're predicting the election now?
I am calling it. I am displaying.
It seemed like you had word with the Prime Minister, Emily.
Maybe I did.
Maybe
Yes, as a
yes,
political commentator, I have to keep my ears to the crowd.
But the comments are the
Yes, you missed it. Yes.
No, but as I said a moment ago, there is no doubt that the foremost task of the leadership of the party, for which I happen to be a part of, at least up to this point, is to bring the party together as much as possible. We have been down this road together. I was in the situation a few years ago, and after a very divisive challenge in 2008, we came back and we won a landslide victory in 2011. So it's not that it is beyond us. It's whether or not the will is within each and every one of us, and to have that sense of common purpose and duty to the party and the country, it can be done. I'm very optimistic that it can be done.
Yeah,
I have confidence. Out there today, when I look at the camaraderie
I'm so sorry, I'm
between
going
both
to interrupt
sides.
you, Mr. Jackson, because we do have Peter Bunting. Let's go now to him.
Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, obviously this is not the result that we had hoped for, but the fact that the winner won by 51% shows that there was a legitimate need for a challenge. I want to start by congratulating Dr. Phillips and his team on their victory, and all of us will respect the decision of the delegates. I want to now turn to my own team, who ran an amazing campaign. We never in history has an incumbent with all the leadership behind them been successfully challenged, and we came within probably a few dozen votes of doing that this time. I think we have nothing to be ashamed of. It is clear that our message resonated with almost 50% of the delegates of the party, and we intend to continue to advocate for what we believe is important, not just for the party, but for the people of Jamaica. I want to really thank all those who came out and supported us, not just today, but right across the island. The response was inspirational. I especially want to thank the campaign team members, many of whom put their lives on hold for the last 3 months during this campaign. At another time, at another place, it will be perhaps appropriate to make a more a longer statement, but at this point I just wanted to use the opportunity to both congratulate Dr. Phillips, to make it clear that we all respect the will of the delegates, and that we feel, in a sense, even though we're disappointed, we feel vindicated that we were able to get almost half the delegates of the party supporting our position, and in many ways it says that the issues that we were putting forward are legitimate and need to be addressed by the party.
Quickly, what's the next step for Mr. Bunting?
Well, that is something that I will reflect on. As I've said when asked many times during the campaign, I have been a supporter of this party from I was a teenager. I have always played some role between then and now, and I intend to continue. Particularly, I committed to my Central Manchester constituents that I would serve at least 4 terms. I'm in my 3rd term, so I have 1 more to go. But however I can contribute to the party, that is my intention. And I certainly want to ensure that I continue to support my colleagues, particularly those who have supported me, to ensure that the party remains strong and vibrant and democratic. I think what we have shown here is that it is important to not just talk about democracy, but to exercise that democracy from time to time. And I think this has been, I hope it will be positive, it will endure to the long-term benefit of the party, and that we can move forward. And as we have said before, that tomorrow we will rise united as one PNP. All right?
Rise! 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 Rise!
And you know, early on in the day, in fact, we had been talking and saying that at some point, one of the candidates would have to use that phrase, rise united as one PNP. We just heard it there from Peter Bunting. I'm nearly at the break. Javier Nelson, let me give you a quick response there.
Yeah, I think he sounded quite straight in his response. You know, he accepted the loss, which I think is very important, and made a commitment to his constituents. As I think that too is very important, that he will continue, and I think that is really going to be important in terms of how the party goes forward. And I appreciate that he really spoke to some of the issues that would have been there, in particular just saying that the things that they would have brought forward as reason for this challenge are clearly in need of being addressed by the party. And I think it's going to be up to Fitz and the party leader, Peter Phillips, to begin to take these things into hand and not to skirt around them as if they're not challenges there.
15 seconds, Emily, and then 15 seconds, Earl. Quick initial comments.
It's a speech with a better tone. That's my view of it, an acceptance of what has happened, and a commitment to the People's National Party. You can see that he's not.
No, I'm going to stop you there.
Yes.
I will let you go on after
All
the break, but let me give Earl a quick initial comment.
Acknowledging that there were issues with the interview that Dr. Phillips gave at the end with our colleague there, I would have loved to have heard his full speech from the platform thereafter, because I think we would have been able to get a better sense of the mood and tone that he came into this victory with, and perhaps we'll hear more of that more anon. But I certainly thought that Mr. Bunting's speech had touched some of the very proper notes.
And on that note, we'll go to a break. Stay with us. We're still here at the National Arena. Coverage continues right after this.
Why you have to run when the beer still a clean? Because the task of me heart get made. I'm on the wipe out. Sing it! Man, no. Play back the rhythm now. Yeah, you have a next rhythm.
Jamaica, 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 yeah.
Don't
Bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah. destination. Jamaica, 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 yeah.
Look, she was the underdog.
I want to thank particularly also Comrade Lisa Hanna, who took charge of our communication. I want to thank the senators, all of them led by Senator Donna Scott Motley. I want to thank Comrade Floyd Morris, Comrade Lambert Brown, all the other senators who contributed to the work of the campaign. Comrades, this should be seen as a bump in the road. Our mission, because Jamaica can't take no more of this Jamaica Labour Party, our mission is to come together and to proceed with the task of organization, present our case, present our policies, and let us put an end to the Jamaica Labour Party government that has left us with more crime, with more corruption, with more poverty, with more difficulty in our lives because of poor social services. So, comrades, we don't come to make no long speech tonight. I have a lot of thanks to give to the YO, to the women's movement, the president of the women's movement, to those in the Patriots, to the entire People's National Party. We come in peace. We come in peace in the PNP. We come in peace to the people of Jamaica. We come united with the workers of Jamaica. We come to move forward as one united party, ready to rise up and take control of Jamaica on behalf of the people of Jamaica. God bless you all, comrades. One heart, one love, until we meet again on the trail of progress, moving up to the better quality of life which all our people seek in Jamaica and which the PNP is dedicated to providing for them. One heart, one love. Stone love! God bless. Okay, good. I'm drinking. I'm drinking. I'm drinking. Oh, yeah. Them want me get awful like them on the dance I'll get. I'm drinking. And Hennessy, let me. Oh, them want me get awful like them on the dance hall. Me start the day with the frost, come baby with ice in it. Satellite can't find me. My Buy me one a liquor, come me and me one boss. Drink to jump that me ender. Hush. Hush.
Okay, so you're watching the King Beanie Man doing his thing. So we just played for you the entire speech that Dr. Peter Phillips gave. Just 2 comments. He did, in fact, also unite the 2 slogans, speaking about one united party rising up. But on the other hand, in that, admittedly, as he said, he didn't come to talk for long, very short speech, not a word about Peter Bunting, no reference to him by name. In fact, he referred to this campaign, this election, which he lost by 76 votes, as, quote, a bump in the road. Earl Moxon.
I am still, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm still not sure that we have heard the entire speech.
We have. My producers are telling me that was the entire speech.
Okay.
Oh.
Well.
You know why I'm laughing?
Emily? That's all you had to say, Earl?
No.
Yes,
you couldn't
that's
believe that was the entire speech?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes, Emily.
It's the same thing Boris Johnson say about Brexit, you know. It's going to be just a bump in the road.
We're just looking there at the Rise United camp. Sorry to interrupt you, Emily. Clearly the party that they had hoped to have been having isn't going to be going on. And everybody, I guess, has gone home, as we do.
And part of the partying should have been celebration for Mr. Bunting's 59th birthday as well.
Yes.
Birthdays, unsignificant events,
You know,
unsignificant days don't always work.
What we should look for is whether or not we see some of the Rise people partying over in one PNP. Yeah, but your reaction, though, to having heard Peter Phillips there now?
I really want to hear the thing in full properly, to sit down and listen. What I heard him...
You mean hear over again the 2.5 minutes?
In my own solitude.
Okay.
Yeah, because what I heard was Dr. Phillips misreading, as I said, the vote of the delegates. His tone seemed militant at a time when he should be penitent.
Penitent? Why
Yes.
penitent?
It requires that. As I said, if you have the backing of an establishment with you, and you lose by this wafer thin, you win with this wafer thin majority, it's signaling that you should immediately adjust your posture and speak in a way that is calm.
You're expecting more conciliation, perhaps?
Yes, and not so much. He shouldn't even be talking about winning the election, no, because the most immediate thing facing him is dealing with this gap that is in the party. And again, I have to listen to it again because everything about it seemed a bit off to me, and I don't know why he could have misread, or why is it that I have a completely different view about the speech I would have liked from him under all of the circumstances from the one that he has delivered.
You can ride and whistle, so he could have delivered the kind of speech that you expect in terms of reconciliation, etc. And then in that same speech, pivot to the government and say we will, as a united force, make sure that we go up with a stronger force against the governing party.
Yes. Yes. And even so, when
I
he said that,
I beg your pardon. I know Emily wants to continue and Javian wants to jump in, but we're going to Dwayne Anderson now, who is in the Peter Phillips camp. He has some of the supporters.
Well, I'm still inside the one PNP camp, Dr. Peter Phillips' camp, the Victor's camp. They are victorious. They're dancing, they're singing, they're partying, and I can imagine they will be partying late into the night. I've gathered to speak a few supporters of Dr. Peter Phillips to speak with. A very narrow victory for Dr. Peter Phillips. Were you always still confident?
Confident. Him put in the work and it fear.
How do you think Peter Bunting will take this loss?
Well, probably them over there crying. But come over, Bunting. I will love the same way. Come over.
And you think think that with the party sort of split, it's in a position to be able to take on the JLP in an election?
Yeah, man, we're ready now. The machine up on the ground, we're ready. Now we can't make Andrew Onis come back in at this again. We'll wipe him out and come together in the next 2 weeks. Our annual conference, and we're ready now. We're ready to take on the road, and we have to win the election. Yeah, the end election come up, we have to win.
And another delegate, thank you so much. Another delegate we've been here from with basically since this morning. You were one of the first persons to vote based on what when I spoke to you. Were you always confident Dr. Phillips? Were you always confident Dr. Phillips would win?
I feel it because he was confident of himself. Himself is confident and the fight was right and he's a child of God and for a long time in a praying and this man when I get up I pray.
You were joking just now that Peter Bunting would not take this easy. What did you say?
Call yours.
Why?
Because I think he would have an heart attack.
All right, thank you. So we've just heard from two supporters of Dr. Peter Phillips. A lot of them are here. They want to have your views here, but of course time is against us. So it's back to Control Center.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. I tell you, there's just something about Jamaican and talking Jamaican. You know, come over Bunting, we love the same way. And I saw all of you start to laugh when you heard that.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think people want to hear, and I think that would have been good on the platform coming from Peter Phillips as the newly elected leader of the party who won by 76 votes, which is exactly what I think Emily has been saying. That kind of spirit is needed to bring the party back. In fact, maybe some people should have gone for some Rise United Party supporters to bring them to their camp to party and celebrate.
Might it not be said though that, look man, allow the man his moment of triumph. He faced a stiff challenge, he beat it off, he won, and there's time enough for everything that you're all suggesting tomorrow. Right now, it's time for him to celebrate.
No, there's no time to say that because one has to be so magnanimous. There's a moment, if you miss the moment, you don't get it back because things can be misread. And it takes an exceptional leader to recognize when you are up on that moment. So I'm understanding from my one PNP friends that he's called Peter Bunting over. There's something in life and in politics called symbolism, and it has a very important place. And if you don't know it as a leader, if you don't have the emotional maturity to know when it's time to put all of your angst aside and deal with it and become the magnanimous leader, you're going to have a problem. So it's no time for him to celebrate right now. It's time for building bridges. The war is still on. Yeah. I heard Damien Crawford saying the war is over. There's no white flag up here with the 76.
But is that you're reading the situation, and perhaps Peter Phillips might even say misreading the situation, because clearly what we heard both in the interview and his speech, he's saying there is no bridge to build.
Right. Well, you see,
there is no gully to cross.
The only thing is, Dion, I've been watching this thing from the very beginning, from mid-June when Peter Bunting declared, and I've interviewed all of them. And I talk with everybody on public media and have the sounding. So I could be misreading, but I don't think I am.
All right, so let's say he missed that important, critical moment on the platform. What though if, having called over Peter Bunting, what if there is that magnanimity that we are speaking about? What if there is that moment between the two of them outside of the glare of the cameras? And in fact, Peter Bunting comes away from that moment feeling much better than we might think he might have felt after the initial comments of Dr. Phillips.
That can happen.
Yeah, I think that would help.
Yeah, it can happen. But you see, in the moment when you have some of the risers around, and they want to get a signal from Mr. Bunting, in the moment, whether do we walk over and unite with the onesies.
Understood and accepted, you know.
Yes. So it's just that call that is going to come after.
Yes.
It's going to miss that moment. And you miss that moment, you will have some people who walk away and who remain bitter for longer than they really ought to have. They can be healed because I'm sure, listen, I'm not at all misguided. Whenever Andrew Holness calls the election, or long before he calls it, all of these individuals are going to be throwing barbs at the GLP as if none of this ever happened, right? But the healing could have started right now with a stronger signal from the leader, and it should have.
And I'll take you back to 2008 at the National Arena as well.
Yes.
Many people feel that that moment was missed that night as well when Mrs. Simpson Miller defeated Dr. Phillips with that second go round.
Which is why Dion asked the question. Post that election, the factions were always inside the PNP, and maybe part of the reason is that that moment was missed.
And in fact, the phrases you just used, the risers, and I think the onesies that were dubbed on your program, albeit late in the campaign, if it is that in a month, 2 months, 3 months, we're still hearing people being referred to as risers and one PNP, we'll know that the healing has not taken place.
Yes, definitely. I think it's important that the symbolism, as Emily said, is very important. I think that's a big thing that the PNP has been missing since for quite some time now. And I think they ought to remember that this is not just about the delegates who voted. It's not just about the delegates who voted them in today, because he has no real idea if the entire comrades right across the country actually support him. So that kind of process for healing has to begin now, where those who are not in Kingston actually see and say, well, our man didn't win, but we're going to continue to support because we feel like he's trying. And they have to begin to address those issues, not just for the delegates, but for the entire party and the country.
Is this a moment also as well, though, for younger leaders within the party to emerge and show the sort of maturity that is needed across this JLP post the 2013 challenge, who would see the importance of rebuilding those bridges, irrespective of what is being done at the very pinnacle of the party?
Very, very critical, and I think that has been one of the challenges that people have. So it's going to be up to Peter Phillips now to begin to create those pathways for younger leaders to come into the party and not just depend on the PNP-YO, because yes, the PNP-YO seemingly supported him in this bid, but one thing that we have seen over the last couple of years is that the PNP-YO is barely an effective entity within the PNP structure, so it's going to require much more than that.
And Dr. Phillips, I think, was hugely influential in the establishment of the Patriots, which was sort of a counterpart to G2K, but never ever rose to the same stature of G2K in the Jamaica Labour Party.
Let me just say as well that I mentioned earlier the whole issue of David Campbell and whether or not his resignation, we've heard his plans to offer it will be accepted. Let's not forget Peter Bunting himself. He's also part of the shadow cabinet opposition spokesman on industry and has been one of the opposition leaders in the parliament. In the parliament as well as in the parliamentary committees. I'm going to suggest that the PNP is not so overendowed with talent that they can afford to lose these gentlemen.
Can I pick up on one particular point in that respect, Dion? There has been a sharp divide between Mr. Bunting and Dr. Phillips and many other members of the parliamentary group in respect of the approach to the state of emergency.
Yes.
That particular issue, they will need to resolve it quickly. The idea of mounting a constitutional challenge may be one way to do it, but can they continue, Emily, to have two positions on the states of emergency? Another one was just recently declared, and therefore they are going to be voting on that in 14 days after that declaration.
Right. You see, in a way, Peter Bunting's one-man crusade and the vote against the state of emergency, how I read it at the time, it was the clearest signal to me that he was going to challenge for the leadership.
But if he did it on the basis of principle,
yes,
Post this unsuccessful challenge, what does he now do? Does he then withdraw that principled position?
Right. I think because the government has gone ahead and announced two others, stretching the security forces thin, there may be company in the position that is now taken by the PNP. And they may be of the view that this is being used as a crime plan and it would cease, and then all of them will decide not to have it continue wherever it has been established. So I think they have been helped by the recent announcements of one in Clarendon and one in St. Catherine, and the positions might not be poles apart or variant as they have been in a couple months ago. That's my view on it. Yeah, because there's a way in which now one is not sure whether there is this rise in crime that necessitates the calling of a state of emergency, or whether the government is just doing it because it has no other option, you know.
Quickly, Jacob, this could be the first major litmus test for the party post today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what they put forward actually, and I think it goes back to what Diana was saying. The party is not necessarily endowed with talent, and if you look at the, Peter Phillips actually talked about presenting the ideas to the public and presenting their case, and I think if you look back at all the things they have said, perhaps the thing that they've gotten the most traction on really is around NITS, because when they put forward their ideas, the covenant, for example, has not been taken up by the public. People are not necessarily talking about it positively, and so it's going to be for them now to sit down and think very clearly and strategically, how can we address this as a party?
Okay, I'm sorry, Emily, hold on a moment. Let's just go to a break, and we'll be back here at the National Arena with our ongoing coverage of the PNP presidential election in just a moment.
Jamaica, 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 yeah. Destination. Jamaica, 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 yeah. Destination. Jamaica, 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 yeah.
And thank you so much for staying with us. We are at the National Arena, continuing our ongoing team coverage of the PNP presidential election. Now, at some point, a little bit earlier on, we were talking about Dr. Peter Phillips, saying that in his victory speech, he didn't reference Peter Bunting, didn't call his name at all. As Emily mentioned, I'm getting a similar message, Emily, from someone from the PNP camp, the one PNP camp, I beg your pardon, saying, in fact, yes, in fact, Dr. Phillips did call the PNP supporters from the other camp to come over, including Mr. Bunting, publicly, and that he said, quote, come over because we are one party. So, again, Earl was saying to you, would that make a difference if it had been done, albeit off camera? So we are, in fact, seeing that, we're hearing that the concession, this was done publicly, although not on camera.
Right. Well, if it was done and it's sufficient for Mr. Bunting, then so be it. But
it would be nice if
yes, as the analysts here, if a what they say, if a coconut falls in a desert or forest,
if no
and
one,
you don't hear, does it really fall?
But everybody in the one PNP
no, but
camp
we
would have heard.
the people looking on, we haven't heard. We
But
could
they,
have,
but they would
but
say,
we didn't.
But they would say we're not in a party, so we're not that
No
important.
Anyway, I'm not going to belabor that. 2 points I want to make. And I commended Julian Robinson on his role as General Secretary. But as I think about how this thing has played out and my own adverse comments about all of that, I think the Secretariat today missed the mark. Why I think they missed it is because...
Hold on, now you just don't tell Julian said he did a great job.
This is why I preface my comments to say I commended him. But in retrospect, because of how things... No, not... Hold on a second. Because of how things have unfolded, you know what they should have done? They should have planned from the back end all of today. Meaning, there should have been one stage set up. They should have had both of the candidates signed off on an acceptance speech and a conciliatory speech.
Emily.
No, hold on a second. Because of all that has transpired, the Secretariat of the party should have orchestrated how the thing was going to end for the betterment of the PNP.
Emily, they couldn't get them to agree on where the barriers were to be, and you want them to agree on one stage and speech?
Well, one thing they could have agreed on is that come today at about 6 o'clock, this race was going to end, and the PNP would need to exist thereafter. So in the interest of the PNP, they could have said, as difficult as it is, each of you, let us decide on this acceptance speech and this concession speech. And we're going to do it from one Dege platform. So at the end of the voting, you don't have a one PNP camp and you don't have a Rise United.
I hear you, and it sounds utopic. Yes, I understand why you're saying that, but I get the impression that the Secretariat had its hands full, as it was, just trying to keep the parties.
I understand that. And I know it's difficult. The other point I want to make, though, is about the resignation of Dayton Campbell. It has to be done. Not only Dayton.
It has to be offered.
It has to be offered. That's right. Every shadow person who supported PNP, Rise United, they must, on a point of principle, offer the resignation.
The issue is whether it's accepted.
The ball must be in Dr. Phillips' court to decide now, am I going to accept?
Which is why I don't make too much of it at the moment.
Yes.
Let's see what the response is to his offer.
Yeah.
What do you think, Javion?
Yeah, I want to go back to something Emily was saying, because I think if you look at, as we were saying, Dayton has been very, very instrumental, right? And yes, they have to offer their resignation, but what is going to be the party going forward? And if you look back now at this utopic idea that Emily is presenting around having these conciliatory
anywhere done, I have to tell you.
It's a different kind of election.
But if you remember some of the circumstances around the election and what people were saying, the Secretariat has not been effective. So that kind of forward thinking and working from backwards to 6 o'clock on this day, I don't think would have been possible at all, because the Secretariat has its handful and they've not necessarily been working that kind of strategic and effective way. And the PNP has seemingly not been a party of symbolism and understanding.
But I don't even know if that would be the role of the Secretariat, though. The Secretariat is concerned with the organization issues. It seems to me that what you're talking about is something that would be the role of the executive itself, the executive of the party.
Which would be who? I don't even know who the executive members are. Anyway, that is my thought. If you want to bridge a gap, especially where the divisions are wide, you have to plan. It's like when you're preparing a case for court. You plan from the back end up. You can't go ask a question in cross-examination that you don't plan to close on. You can't come, that you're having your big issues in the party and you allow the camps to be so disparate at a time when the vote is 76. All I'm saying is, with better thought, it could have perhaps been choreographed a little bit more to help the party beginning the healing process.
I get the impression that certainly in recent times that the Secretariat of the PNP has not been blessed with a lot of resources to accomplish some of the things that might be useful for it to achieve. And therefore, you have a sort of a bare bones operation that is lucky or happy to get by with achieving the basic logistical operations.
Somebody's reminding me on Twitter that in 2013, Audley Shaw and Andrew Holness shared one stage and shook hands.
Yes, he was there. Remember, Audley Shaw was there for the announcement, and they held hands.
And
It was
shared
similar,
one stage.
similar to the picture I showed earlier of Michael Manley and Dave Blake in 1969. There was that sort of ending to the announcement of the results.
Now, all of us, in fact, have been, speculating. Yes, that's what we do in media. We've started to speculate about when there's going to be a general election. And a little bit earlier on, Emily Miss Cleo Shields was was predicting a snap election. And I think the question a lot of people had was, how does the result of this election affect what Andrew Holness may do? But let's put that on pause for a little while, because we have with us Kevin Brown. He's joined us on set, and based on the weekend win t-shirt and the Rise United cap, we're saying he's a Peter Bunting supporter. I hear now over there ball and I carry on with beer things, man.
To be honest with you, I would have cried because we expect to bring it home based on the numbers that we had and based on the number that was canvassed. So we thought would have won, but nevertheless, Comrade Peter Phillips took it home. And I can say I really sad to say, to be honest with you, as a young person in my 30s, it's really a sad day in the PNP, to be honest.
Tell me something. How active were you before Peter Bunting launched Rise United?
Well, I'm a very active PNP supporter I remember when Commerce Smith lost the first election. I had one loaf of bread and a bottle of water the entire day, and I slept in all day. And then the next election, I remember I gave up my job. I used to work in Montego Bay, traveling from Montego. I gave up my job, really, to ensure, to campaign, so that the PNP could have won that
So you're serious supporter.
I'm a serious.
So why are you not a delegate?
I am, but I reached late. I reached late because of the rain. I had work, and I had to go to work and come back. The rain was, coming down to the junction, it was really terrible.
But tell me what this Peter Bunting loss, what does it say to you now about the PNP going forward under Peter Phillips? Okay, so your enthusiasm clearly has ebbed away. Yes. Do you see yourself, do you see the party going forward with the same energy you felt in the Rise United?
Let me say this in my opinion. I can tell you the PNP will never see back government under Comrade Peter Phillips. Never. As I said it earlier, Comrade Peter Phillips will be the only PNP president will never see Jamaica House or Prime Minister, and the only PNP president will not be buried at US Circle.
Why would you say that?
Well,
he'll never be Prime Minister, so you won't
never be Prime Minister.
But why won't you bring the same energy to PNP campaign as you brought to Rise United?
No, let me tell you something. As a young comrade, I don't see Peter Phillips leading the party in a sense of energized, because the party was like Madden's friend at home, put it that way, because it was a very dead yard. I put a concept. Let me make it clear. Comrade Peter Phillips is a good minister. Good minister. But the difference between a good captain and a good player. He's a good player, but not necessarily a good captain.
So what you are saying here, give the lie to the argument that some in the Rise United camp are making, that irrespective of the outcome, the PNP will have benefited from this exercise because it will come out of today's exercise recharged, re-energized, and ready to take on the Jamaica Labour Party. Based on your response, you are saying, no, the energy you're talking about was contingent on my candidate winning.
Yes, because if you realize, even so when Comrade Portia Simpson Miller won, the energy was there, the the energy was there even when he challenged Portia Simpson the last time. The energy rebuilt. So it's therefore the comrades came out and PNP won by a landslide. But I can tell you this, the next election, I can tell you, Andrew Onis will be leading the country for the next 7 years.
Are you going to vote?
No.
Why not?
And I'll be not be working.
Why not?
Because I'm a worker. I'll not be working.
Why not?
Because if age is a factor, I can't see a 72-year-old person leading in the future. What you say the past tense would be.
So tell me something now. When we then heard Peter Phillips say there is no need to extend an olive branch, we heard Damian Crawford say we're not at war.
All right.
What does that mean for
Let me show you
the
something.
division? Because I'm listening to you and I'm hearing division.
No, let me show you something. Comrade Peter Phillips caused a division just a while ago. Any contest you have, the first person you recognize other than God is your opponent. He never did that. He never extended an olive branch until he finished his speech. Somebody came on the stage and then he extended the olive branch. It's
Somebody did what?
No.
You mean like somebody said something?
Somebody said something and he came back on the stage after the person finished talk. He came back on the stage and extended the olive branch. How could you miss that? At least acknowledge Peter Bunting and said, good fight. But you did not acknowledge him in anything that you did.
So when you were hearing his speech, what was going through your mind?
Sense of arrogance. Sense of arrogance. Believe you me. I mean, as the announcement made, it was like 5 minutes. Bam, he's on stage. I remember when Comrade Portia Simpson won and we blocked Olope Road. We're asking, where is Comrade Portia Simpson? We were begging, bring Comrade Portia Simpson out. And it was like minutes after 8 or something that she came on the stage. I remember that day vividly. I remember that day. It was just like, okay, over and done.
So listening to you, if other supporters of Peter Bunting feel like you're going to be folding your hands and sitting back and making them go on.
Well, I won't be working, so I won't be working or voting or campaigning for the PNP.
Can we keep in touch on you on that?
Trust me, I can tell you that. Because anybody knows me, I can tell you. I post on Facebook, I will not be campaigning nor voting for the PNP.
What could Peter Bunting do to change your mind? Peter Phillips, I beg your pardon. I'm mixing up.
Well, the only thing he can do is step down. That's the only way he can change my mind. A different leader.
Suppose he embraces Bunting and says, look, I want this man to be my right-hand man. I want young PNP supporters like Kevin Brown to stay on. I want all the young people. Is there nothing he could do to bring you back?
Let me tell you something, Dion. Because I'm live. Let me tell you something. I will not vote for Peter Phillips. You know why? I remember what he did to Portia Simpson Miller. I'm a Portia Simpson Miller PJ comrade. I born in Michael Manley days, right? But I'm a PJ and I'm a Portia Simpson Miller comrade, right? And I remember what he did to Portia. Instantly, one of the reasons I will not vote for Peter Phillips.
So no amount of reconciliation or conciliatory speech from the platform today would have made a difference to you then?
Well, maybe not. But even so, again, let me say a sense of arrogance for Peter Phillips. He not even waited until Comrade Peter Bunting acknowledged and said, we're lost. He didn't wait it. He's just like, okay, I won and that's it.
So that first impression for you?
Is that.
When you were listening to his speech, were there other risers around you?
Yes.
And what was their reaction?
It was the same sense, like everybody, all the young people was standing there. Oh, we're not voting. We're this, we're that, we're done. That's it.
So you don't feel there's a space for young people like you in the PNP going forward?
No.
Why?
So suppose...
Because if you realize the sense of people that Peter Phillips have around him, it's kind of difficult, to be honest with you. It's kind of difficult. And the former Minister of Youth is a perfect example. She...
Suppose Bunting himself feels that Phillips has reached out to him sufficiently, and he comes to you and his other supporters and say, come man, come back, we need to come back.
Let me tell you something. There's only 2 people in PNP, or maybe 3, can have me leave my house. Maybe 2 or 3. It's not much. Not 5 enough. 2 or 3. And it's Comrade Joel and Silvera or Dayton Camp. Those are 2 people can
How can I hear Bunting name coming?
No man, other than Comrade Bunting, Comrade Bunting is general. Comrade man is the boss.
Okay.
But other than him.
So if Bunting or Dayton Campbell or Silvera reach out to you and the other young people and say, we think they're serious about incorporating our issues, about addressing our concerns, about fixing the problems we all saw, and we want you to come. You will go?
I will not be voting for the PNP.
Right. Could we conceivably see you voting for the JLP then?
No, I will not vote for the JLP.
You're bitter.
No, I will not vote for the JLP. I'll be staying home.
Why do you think
Because
you
in
lost?
conference, I won't be attending conference.
Why?
Because it made no sense I come to conference.
Why?
Because to come to the conference and listen to Comrade Peter Phillips is just, the PNP right now is like a truckload full of sand with all the tire punch out.
So you think listening to Dr. Peter Phillips give his address again as party president, that for you would be like what? Rubbing salt into a wound?
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me tell you something. Look how many scandals the JLP had. How many scandals? Scandal upon scandal, scandal back, scandal back, scandal back, scandal back. And the PNP has not moved. We're still in single digits. We're still in single digits. I've never seen something like this in my entire life.
Isn't that because, in part because the PNP is weighted down by its own problems in terms of past scandals?
The leader is everything.
No, the leader can't be everything.
Well, the leader calling shots. I know we're going to blame everything on Peter Bunting, but it won't be that way.
But you lost very narrowly, obviously. 76 votes. Why do you think, though? Why do you think you did lose?
He didn't come to vote, that's one reason.
Well, I can say maybe I am one of them, and I may be guilty for that. But, it's 76. I don't think Comrade Peter Phillips should sit down and handle that because that is no mandate at all. It's just like the JLP won by 1 seat. It's no mandate at all.
So you're saying he really doesn't have a mandate here?
No, he doesn't have a mandate.
But he win, though.
Yeah, he win.
They say ugly win is better than a pretty win.
No, he won, yes. So that's what I'm taking the fact that he won.
I thought you would appreciate that. So. Football.
We don't look at the fact that he won. But it's not a mandate. You should be safe. It's like when Comrade Portia Simpson Miller won, 1,000 votes. I can say yes, you can sit and relax, but you can't sit and relax.
What if it
All
takes
right, I'm sorry to cut you all. We're going to have to say goodbye to Kevin Brown, representative of Peter Bunting's Rise United campaign. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll hear from a supporter of Peter Phillips' One PNP campaign. All right, stay with us. We'll soon come.
God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah. God bless this nation. Jamaica, 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 yeah.
Thank you so much for staying with us as we continue our coverage here at the National Arena, the PNP presidential campaign. So we've been joined now by Mark Malava. He is a supporter of Peter Phillips' One PNP campaign. And, well, we saw you guys over there dancing and singing and carrying on. But in all this celebration, is there not a note of concern, a note of solemnity, realizing how narrow your victory was, 76 votes, and hearing there one of your party members say, Peter Phillips can't win, me not vote for him, me not work for him.
Truckload of sand with all the tire punctures. That's the PNP, he said.
Yes, I've heard. I heard the comment. One thing is obvious is that there is two different sides in the party. There is one set of persons who subscribe to what Peter Bunting have been saying, and there is another set of comrades who subscribe to Peter Phillips' vision of the party and where he wants to take the country. The margin suggests that there is a division, and I heard the comrade, and I refer to him as a comrade. I heard his views, and I am mindful of the fact that that will be the view of many persons many of the risers. There's a sense of bitterness coming from that would naturally come from that camp because they have been defeated. There's a saying, the hotter the battle, the sweeter the victory, but also the hotter the battle, how would I put it, the harder it is to accept defeat. Yeah? Certainly, I believe that under Peter Phillips' leadership, there is you must now move into the healing process.
I'm going to interrupt you there because what we heard Peter Phillips say is there's no need to heal. He said there's no need for an olive branch. Damian Crawford said there's been no war. And that's certainly not what we're hearing on the ground.
Yeah, let's face the reality. There was a campaign. The nature of campaign, the nature of elections, the nature of politics is that one side is going to feel bitter. And just listening to the gentleman earlier, there is a sense of bitterness. And as leaders in the party, we must now reach out to heal the party. I believe no more than ever there must be a healing process within the party, and we can't be delusional about it. Because only a united party, only a united PNP can take on the JLP at this point.
Let me ask you, because I know you've been politically active for a while, and when we have these kinds of contests, we hear phrases like that thrown around. Oh, we need to heal, we need to move forward as one party, and it doesn't happen. Realistically and practically, what are the steps you think need to be taken to actually achieve that?
Well, certainly for me, from the leadership perspective, there has to be a meeting between the two Peters. There has to be a genuine upfront discussion behind closed doors as to what were the concerns. It is obvious that there is a group within the party who believes that the party was not going in the right direction. Yeah? And as such, because the reality is we must be mindful of the fact that the election was close. We must be mindful of that, and that reality cannot be lost on us.
Can I follow up and ask you, Mark Malava, what role, what position do you think Dr. Phillips needs to give to Peter Bunting in the party?
I can't speak to that.
No, what would you like to see?
I would love to see a sort of discussion, a dialogue taking place between both men.
No man, what role should he have in a party led by Peter Phillips?
Well, certainly, to the best. Well, I remember that he was offered campaign director prior to the election. Certainly, I would love to see him come on board. He ran a very savvy campaign. I admired the way that he ran that campaign. It was unprecedented in terms of some of the things that were being done, and he really closed the gap in terms of the amount of votes that he got versus Dr. Peter Phillips. Certainly, we must be mindful of that, of the fact that Bunting does bring something to the table.
Going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for talking to us. Mark Malava, member of the One PNP campaign. Do those labels continue after today?
Pardon me?
Do those labels continue after today, One PNP and Rise Up?
Well, the jury's still out on that.
Well,
let's
there you have
what
your
happens.
answer right there. We're going to have to leave it there. We've been coming to you live all day from the National Arena, covering the PNP presidential election. I'm Dion Jax Milo.
And I'm Earl Moxham. Thanks for having been with us.
And want to say thanks to our entire news production and engineering teams here on location, as well as at base. Thanks to our panelists, Emily Shields, JPM Nelson. Early on, we had Daniel Archer as well. And of course, thanks to you for watching. Do stay tuned. Primetime News is coming up, and enjoy the rest of your evening.